so we get root access. Crazy. So now we can go over to the root, we can list out what we've got, and we can look at this proof.txt. Hi friends, and welcome back to the channel. Who doesn't love free stuff? My name's Ash, I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast, and on today's video, we're going over the Opacity room from TryHackMe. For notes, links, timestamps, see the description. But before we get started, thanks to the XSS rat Mr. Wesley, who's been kind enough to give me a handful of his course bundles. Now, I've recently purchased this, and I gotta say there is a lot of great content here. This bundle is the endless cybersecurity journey, the full house. It's got all of the courses in the entire library for XSS rat, not only past and present, but any future courses that come here, they are all yours for complete free. So if that sounds cool, you'll find a link below. There are only 3 available spots, so click on the link. I hope you get it. If you've missed out, there might be one hidden somewhere below. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into our room Opacity. So shout out to the room creator. Looks like TryHackMe has helped out with this one with Minds Flee. So let's go ahead and select Start Machine. We've got our single task here, Opacity, which is an easy machine that can help us in the penetration testing learning process. There are 2 hash keys located on the machine. There is the user local.txt and the proof.txt for root. So can we find them and become root? So we do have a hint here in plain text, which reads, there are several ways to perform an action. Always analyze the behavior of an application. This is a nice indication that it's really going to come down to our methodology and our thinking of understanding some tech. So if that sounds fun, let's get into it. We've got our IP here. Let's first connect to the TryHackMe network. Let's go ahead and ping our box. Looks like we have a problem, and we can try and actually just ping the test server, and we can't even get that. So if we run IPA, I can see that the issue is we've got 2 tunnels, and I guess that is an issue, kind of like colliding. So I believe we can take the first one down. Turn down, is it? Need permission to do so. So IP-A. So this status is now down, and we still can't ping. Maybe we'll just restart our network, and there we go. So first things first, let's go ahead and do a port scan. My tool of choice right now is rustscan. It's pretty fast, it's pretty easy to use. We're just going to use the -G for a greppable output, and it's going to give us this nice list of our ports that we can just Control-Shift-C, and we can go ahead and just look at these ports in more detail. So let's go ahead and get our services, our versions, and our scripts. And let's just make a copy of this, and we'll just go ports.1 and see what we get. All right, so we saw that there were 4 ports open. So 22 is our first one that we're looking at, and it's running the default service SSH. Probably not a great idea to start exactly there, so we'll move on to our next one. So next up, we've got port 80, which is running the HTTP service. Looks like we have a PHP Apache system, so we're definitely going to go check that out. And then 139 and 445, which is running this NetBIOS SSN Samba, or commonly known as SMB. So there's a few tools that we can run against these ports to find out some further information. So a great tool is Enum for Linux, and we can do a scan against the IP, and this is going to give us further information. And if you like, we can tee this out and put it into like a file, for example. So after a little while, that's going to give us some more information. So the only real notable thing here is like, we can't really find any open listings or open shares rather that we could kind of see if there's files in, maybe there's some hints or something. So the only thing that I can really see is we have picked up a Unix user. So a user on the system is sysadmin. So let's just start up a loot file, and let's just put in this user here. So next up was the default port 80 running HTTP. So let's open that up in Firefox. I think the connection to TryHackMe is just like super bad. I've like already lost connection to this box. It's back. Okay, there we go. So we are greeted with some login page, and we can try like the default admin, and we're greeted with this invalid logins. Control U will bring up the view source, and we can't really see much. We can't see like a PHP file that it's like going off to or something, but we know that this is some login.php. So let's try and find some other interesting files or directories, and we're going to use ffuf or ffuf for this. So let's specify where we want to look and then where we want to fuzz with the keyword fuzz, and then just a words list. I'm going to use a sec list, just discovery web. There's a few good ones. We can go ahead and just use common.txt. I like to look for extensions. Perhaps I don't have to do this like straight away. I could just look for, I don't know, directories first, but sometimes this just picks up on things. The -r is for recursive, so if it finds any directories, it'll then go ahead and look inside those directories, and we're just going to make this fuzz.1. See how that goes. Okay, and once that's finished, we are going to see an unusual directory. So let's go back to our website and let's go over to this directory. So we found this 5 minutes file upload, a personal cloud storage. So it looks like it's looking for an external URL that we can put into this input field, and we can go ahead and then upload. So if the upload isn't accepted, it'll just go, please select an image. And now let's go Control U. Ooh, that worked a lot faster. I'm liking this. So we can see we do have a post method this time around. So we're definitely able to post to the server. We can interact from this service within the browser to the server. So that's good. Now, this external URL is kind of interesting because we know these boxes can't actually go out to the internet. It's not like I can just go out to google.com, for example. Like, that's just not going to work. So what we could do is create a text file, some sort of test. And we could just put please subscribe into this test.txt. Okay, please. And here we could start up a web server. So from this website running on another machine, we could go back to my system and see if we can get this txt file. Now we have logs that are going to show up here if this works or if it doesn't. So we'll hit enter, and it did not get it. So since we're looking for images, let's try and play around with this. Let's move this test.txt to test.jpg, for example, and start up that server again. Will it change if we change the txt to jpg and get an image? All right, now we have a different input. That's interesting. It's shown us some nice animation. It's then put us over to this storage.php, and I'm assuming that it's trying to show us the image that we just put. And if we zoom out a little bit, we're given an image link and the HTML, so some sort of embed code. But this is super interesting. So this is actually showing us there is an image directories here that'll go to this JPEG. So if we open up a new tab, we could actually go to that JPEG, but it's not actually found. So going back to our web server that we spun up, it worked. It did go over there, but I guess there's nothing to show, or for whatever reason, I mean, it's just an empty text file, right? What have we learnt? That the file extension is changing how the application behaves. So it didn't work with .txt, but it is sort of doing something with the .jpg. So that's interesting. And this sort of goes back to this hint that we had earlier. There are several ways to perform an action. Always analyze the behavior of the application. So that's kind of where we are, and that's kind of what we're stuck on right now. So we have web shells under this user share web shells directory. And we can take a look in this PHP directory, and we've got a reverse shell that we're after. So let's give this a copy to our current directory, and I'm just going to rename it to shell.php. And now we've got a copy of that. So let's just open that. And there's two things that we need to change in any reverse shell. Our IP. So this is our machine that we want the victim to return back to, connect back to, which is us. And we could have the port number as anything. There's 4444 from just other challenges. We've got our payload that we want to get onto the system. So we already found with our txt file that it's only letting certain file extensions. So let's take a look at the site Hacktricks, and we just want to look at file uploads, I believe. File uploads. So this has got some great information around bypassing filters, and this is definitely something that we've got going on. It's kind of looking like this extension check. So we can do some fun things like putting PNG or JPEG before PHP. We can try different types of PHPs. But let's focus in on trying to add special characters at the end. So this is not renaming the file. This is just leaving like file.php and just adding these into the input field. So I'll show you what I mean. So in our Opacity directory, we're going to spin up another web server again. And we know that we've got this in the current directory. So going back to our victim target, if we type in our external URL input field, the attacking machine, this time we want to get this shell.php, but we already know that there's going to be an issue. So we can go ahead and try any number of these. And it is a little bit of a trial and error. A couple of these might work, but one that I know does work is adding this pound. So this is tricking the extension parser on the server side with techniques like doubling the extension or adding junk null bytes between extensions. You can also use the previous extensions to prepare a better payload. So you can use like a combination of these. So I'm going to try this one. And just by adding this in at the end, and we'll go upload. So we see a transferring file, zoom back out, and we've got the image link. So if this works, our shell.php, which we can come back here and see, did have a successful 200 OK GET request. Let's go ahead and start up a netcat listener, and we put this on port 4, quad 4. So if we go over to our URL, and we don't actually need the like pound symbol or any of that, that was just to bypass the filter. We should be able to hit enter, and it didn't work. We do not have a successful shell. So let's go back over our steps. So when in doubt, do everything again, but a little bit slower. So with our Python server running, we'll put in our string again, we'll select upload, we'll see our transferring file again, we'll get our image link again, we'll confirm that that actually was sent, set up our netcat listener, and still nothing. I'm pretty sure that that should work. Let's just try something crazy and just put it on like, I don't know, a different port or something. Ooh, all right, that worked. So was using port 80 the problem? I think so. Putting it over on a different port, even though we did get the same successful get, this time it actually was uploaded and executed. So we got our shell. Oh, don't you love a little problem solving? Okay, so we have a reverse shell as data. This has just put us in the root directory. So first things first, let's look at our etc password file and see what users we're dealing with. So going off our 1000 ID, because that's when users start, we have our sysadmin, which we did see earlier. So that's cool. So we can confirm that that's definitely a user and they have a home directory, and we can log in bash. So if we list out our home sysadmin, we see that there is our local.txt, and that's what we're after. But we need to find a way to get in to this user. So escalate our current privileges over to this user, and then probably over to root. So something that is kind of useful is we're going to search for anything, files or directories that belong to this sysadmin user, and any of the permission errors will just removed. And we see a pretty interesting file. Now this OPT directory is usually empty, but it looks like in this case we have this dataset.kdbx. So it's owned by the sysadmin user and group. We have read executability over this as the everyone permissions. So what we could do is copy this, and we could just go and put it in the HTML folder, and then back on our local system, we just run wget against this, because now it's sitting with our HTML files. Port 80 that this is going to use is going to look in here where this guy is. So dataset.kdbx, and that'll go and grab that. So if we look up kdbx file format, we've got KDBX files are an encrypted database files which cannot be read by any third parties, including people. You have to open this file in KeyPass. So it looks like we're dealing with a KeyPass database. So there is a application called KeyPassXC. So if you don't have that, you can go sudo apt install KeyPassXC to get it. Now that we have that, we want to run that against this database so we can open it. And it is password protected, so we can't just unlock it. We need to find the credentials for this. So again, looking through hat tricks, we can look for KeyPass, and we have a brute force cheat sheet, which is really nice. That's what we're after. Let's just search KeyPass. So it looks like we have a KeyPass to John. Now I've used SSH to John, so it is a program specifically built for passing through a KDBX file into a hash that we can use John to crack with. The KeyPass to John, and we can pass through this dataset, and we'll put that output, and we'll just make a dataset.hash. So if we just go a look at this hash file, here we've got the hash for this database. So following hat tricks, we can go John, pass through our hash file, and we'll specify our word list, which in this case, we want to use the RockU. And once it goes through that, we will get our password. Let's just go ahead and save that into our loot. So now if we open this file, we can paste in our password that we've just found. And we have one entry in here that we can look at, and we can see here our sysadmin user has this password. So let's copy that. Awesome. Paste that in our loot. So we've got a copy of it. If you remember the other services running, we had SSH. So we can go ahead and run SSH and log in as the sysadmin user. Paste in our password that we found, and we're in as our sysadmin user. So we can list out our files, and we go ahead and get this local.txt. Awesome. Paste that on to TryHackMe. So next up is getting this proof.txt. Now, looking at our current files, we have something super interesting. So we don't need to copy over linps. We don't need to do further enumeration and hunt around. This is really unusual right here. So let's look for hidden directories listed out and recursive inside this scripts directory. So let's focus on permissions, because this is where I really struggle with this box. Shout out to TCM Security. They had a live stream recently, which really helped me out with this PrivEsc part. So what I learned, really focusing on the files, understanding the technology, and the permissions. So we have ownership permissions over this lib folder directory. So we have read, write, executable over all of the files because we have this directory. So it's interesting because if we look at the permissions for all the files inside that directory, we are not the owner, root is. So then the other interesting thing is we have this script.php, which is owned by root, uses us in the group sysadmin. We can read this file. So let's start here. Let's cd into scripts. Let's go ahead and cat this script.php out. I don't really know PHP. I'm not a programmer. So again, shout out to TCM for the assistance here, but this is pointing us towards this lib/backup.inc.php file. It looks like it's taking the contents of this scripts directory and then putting it over to this backup.zip. And then it's deleting everything inside this images file back from the web server. But this is what we really want to focus on, is this. So let's look at the permissions of this file again. We already saw it, but remember we have full permissions over this folder. So what can we do with this information? We know that this script is being run by root, and I'm assuming that there is like a cron job that's using this script. I can't confirm that because it's not actually in here. So we could copy over linps to confirm it. We're just assuming. So what we want to do is something pretty crazy. We want to remove this backup PHP file that's being invoked. Remove write protected regular file. Yes, please. Now, if we look inside there, it's gone. We can go inside there and create a new file, and we can call it the exact same thing. And now we can kind of put in whatever we want. If we put in a PHP tag, we use this system function and we run change mod, and we add a S, the SUID, to bin bash. Because this is being run as root, this will allow others to use bash as root. We finish out our fancy PHP tag, Control X, Y, get out of it, and we can confirm that it's definitely in there. So if this works, and if there is some other cron job running, there's some script running on the system that we're assuming, we can go ahead and watch the permissions of bin bash. Currently, it has normal permissions, and now it doesn't. So there is a bit of assuming here that there was something running on the system, which is a bit of a CTF gamble. Control C, let's get out of that. So we can now run bin bash using the -p flag. And if we just quickly look up the -p flag, this will display read line function names and bindings in such a way that can be reread. I don't know what that fully means with my current understanding. One day I would like to, but I know this much. If we use it, it'll run using the permissions that we use through that script. So we get root access. Crazy. So now we can go over to the root. We can list out what we've got and we can look at this proof.txt. And there we go. Paste that into TryHackMe. Thank you very much for watching all the way through with this video. I hope you enjoyed this room. Feel free to do all that YouTube stuff if you like the video. Again, big thank you to XS Rat, Mr. Wesley for the giveaways. So don't forget to use the links below. And there is one hidden secret code for you to find. Up on the screen, you're going to see a recommended video to Chill Hack, was the last room we've done on TryHackMe. If you enjoyed this boot to root challenge, then go and check that out. Otherwise, thanks again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.